Hello and welcome to my world in a casual review. This time we're talking about Gotham Knights, the game that actually had the guts to have the plot of Batman's dead, the other heroes of Gotham City have to step up to the plate. And I have to say, just on the premise alone, the game knocks it out of the park. You don't get any real character introduction. There is no hand holding as it relates to the Batman mythos. It's like it is coming. You have no real introduction to Batgirl, Nightwing, Red Hood, or Robin. So it's like if you don't know who these characters are, particularly the versions of these characters. Since the big one being, like, everybody knows Dick Grayson is Nightwing. Everyone knows Jason Todd is Red Hood. But he was also Robin, as was Dick Grayson at one point. Everybody knows Barbara Gordon is Batgirl, but there have been, of course, there's Kate Kane, who is Batwoman. There are other Batgirls as well that have been popped up in the Batman family. Then you have the Robin in this game is Tim Drake, arguably my favorite Robin, is the from the mid-90s, thanks to his solo series. I have several of the early issues of that particular run in my comic book collection, so I was really glad that it was Tim Drake and not Damian freaking Wayne. So it was like, so there was just so many positives. Like, I went to I know who these characters are. I know their rough origins based on what I remember from the comics and various Batman media. So for me, it was easy peasy. But for other folks who may not know who these characters are expecting Batman to be in it, or let alone playable, I can understand that being a little bit jarring. But that's this game's strength. Much like Spider-Man Miles Morales, which I played around the same time I played this, you have characters who are basically having to step up and evolve to protect their city. And while in Gotham Knights, you have 4 characters that you can switch between. But my playthrough, I did that exclusively as Batgirl, and I'm really glad I did, because you have a lot of story beats that if you stick with a single character all the way through, you get the story progression from their point of view. A lot of the interactions they would have with some of the with the likes of Renee Montoya or the members of the Watch, or Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, as well as some cutscenes with Jacob Kane, the voice of the Court of Owls, and Talia al Ghul. So you can have multiple playthroughs if you want to go through it and see what it's like from an individual character's point of view. But I did it strictly as Batgirl, and I found it to be a very rewarding experience because of how everything fell into place for Batgirl, how she doesn't have the confidence. She's worried about her memory not being as good as it was, and being able to be a crime fighter. And there are a lot of references to Batgirl's history in this, such as her infamous back injury at the hands of the Joker. And matter of fact, a cutscene that happens late in the game, once the reveal of the Man-Bat mutants, Batgirl takes a bad fall and there's concerns about her back as well. So it's like a little touches like that, references is something that I can greatly appreciate. Gameplay wise, it's not as in depth as, say, like Batman Arkham City or Arkham Asylum, where you're relying a lot more on gadgets and puzzles. Granted, this game has a lot of puzzles and a lot of linear levels, but Gotham Knights, you have a wide variety of abilities, but it's all really geared towards combat. All right, it is, you can feel the influence of Marvel Spider-Man, the one that came out in 2018, on this game in terms of its gameplay and the use of the various abilities and things of that sort. Visually, the game mostly takes place at night. Only time you see daylight is when in between nights you go check in at the Belfry to like either to progress the story, because you will run out of things to do on each individual night. Like you basically you're going out on patrol, you're helping the citizens of Gotham. You're dealing with any predetermined crimes or crimes that you find out about, and stopping crimes as they're happening. And but there's only so many that occur in an individual night, so you have a nice progression in terms of time frames over how long the story actually takes place, which is quite interesting, and a very different dynamic than the real forced Mannix time scaling of say of the aforementioned Marvel Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales. It's kind of is what it is there. The voice acting works for the most part. Everyone sounds as like you would expect. Probably the most standout is Harley Quinn's voice actress doing a real fantastic job, where there is like respect for, at least with it, since I did this as Batgirl, there's like a little bit of a rivalry, but there is a begrudging respect there, particularly if you do. If you defeat Harley Quinn in her side quest as Batgirl, there is that begrudging respect there. So again, very rewarding experience. Mr. Freeze and Clayface are involved, and you, and their involvement is in many ways an addictive. Like, okay, as an indication that this game is meant to be the launch of a franchise, to be like a Gotham Knights 2 and so forth, because you got an achievement marking the end of an era. It was like the permanent defeat of, at the very least, of Mr. Freeze and Clayface in regards to things, or at least the implication was, because they had like such deep ties to Batman, as does Harley Quinn, but Harley is evergreen, and you can, and who has a cult like status these days. So it's like, yeah, there's no way Harley will not be involved in future installments and sequels to this game, if there are any. But Mr. Freeze and Clayface, you can see them not being used in a sequel ever again. It's like there will be no need, considering how you defeat them and their motivations for doing what they are doing. The Court of Owls and the League of Assassins, in terms of your main antagonist in the game, are an interesting conundrum. It's almost two sides of the same coin. It's like, oh, one wants to rule Gotham from the shadows as they have for centuries. The other one wants to purge the other side from Gotham. And you have everything involving, okay, Talia al Ghul resurrecting Bruce Wayne to fulfill her father's ambitions of having Bruce lead the League of Assassins, which all that comes to a head at the very end of the game. Spoilers for a game that's probably, what, a year or two old at this point? But the ending, the last couple of chapters, basically chapters or case files 7 and 8, feel very rushed, because once you deal with the Jacob Kane and the infiltration of Kane of Kane Tower, the last two major chapters of the game feel very, very rushed as it relates to everything else. So they're probably encouraging on the pacing in terms of all the side stories involving Harley, Mr. Freeze, and Clayface will be my recommendation. But at the same time, considering how those cases can overlap and you can do them almost consecutively early on, it's kind of like, oof, tit for tat. There is like, what do you do to get the most experience to not for the main story not to feel rushed? It's kind of like a unique question that one has to consider there. Would I play Gotham Knights again? And there's almost a same thing with Spider-Man Miles Morales. You're almost like forced to play it again because of achievements that are only possible based on a new game plus run. In the case here is like there's an achievement of hitting max level of 40. The max level you can hit in your initial playthrough is 30. And even then, your skill points, you need to do virtually everything in the game fully to have enough skill points to get to be able to unlock every single ability. Now, this game does have a shared progression, so if you're focusing on just one character the way I did, you don't have to worry about leveling up the other characters. You just have to worry about their gear. So a new game plus run, you more likely is going to be encouraged to play as the same character you did in your initial playthrough, unless you want to take the chance in using the best possible gear, which is level 30-ish heroic gear for the other characters that you did not utilize, or just go through and grind up and searching for and unlocking all the abilities for the other characters to be utilized in a new game plus run to get the best possible gear possible for them. So it's like, but for I myself, it's a possibility I will play it again to do a new game plus run, but it's not going to be anytime soon. I can guarantee that. It's almost going to be in the same boat as Spider-Man Miles Morales. Like, oh, if I need a game to play, well, it's there. It was like, it's an option for me to revisit and to go through that challenge. And but it's not going to be something on my agenda, because I found the game in and of itself to be a fulfilling experience. And even then, just on a casual playthrough, I got 81% of the achievements. The only things I missed was stuff related to collectibles around Gotham, and a couple of combat related ones, focusing on different types. One related to defeating a certain number of enemies, which are real hard to get to spawn unless you're going to every single looking for real specific locations on the main map for specific activities to do. And the other is actually using abilities, which I was focused more on combat and dodging, and using more abilities than others over the course of my playthrough. So in and of itself. So with that said, those are all my thoughts and opinions regarding Gotham Knights. Thank you very much. If you've played this game, leave your opinions in the comments section below. I'd love to read them. Like, subscribe if you're so inclined. I know nobody ever does that, because I know I don't on other channels. I'm being honest here. I don't do it when other channels say it, but then again, they shove that in at the very beginning of a video, as opposed to how I do it here at the very end. And we'll see y'all in the next video. So till then, tighten your friendship bracelets, stay safe, have a good one.